Jen Bendel is a professor at the University of Cambria who wrote, I'll be very quick, and you can find all the information on our website and on Wikipedia. Everything is available if my presentation is not clear or not complete, or if you have any more questions. He publishes a paper because he was taking care of climate change, and he realized that it's not enough. He realizes the state of the world and he wants to write on it, um, on development, sustainable development. He was not able to publish it. It was complicated for him. It was not easy because it was scaring. It was not his specialty, obviously, because his specialty of the future adaptation was not, it didn't exist in universities. So he decided to publish through his university, and it created a buzz, a real downloaded, commented thousands of times. And so a real mindset was created, English speaking one first, deep adaptation, that we could translate by deep adaptation. But the choice we made in France was radical adaptation. We'll explain quickly that radical is not a violent word. We really are not violent at all. But it's rather going to the root, radical going to the root. It seemed for us important to see things from its roots, to be able to understand all the breakdown that's happening in the world right now. So in this group, we meet every week. And we led many things here and there, many actions, and we're trying to get to know each other a little bit. We've had a lot of groups that try to think of why we existed. And we want to recognize and develop together answers in facing the different collapses that are happening. And our reason of being is knowing what we are, what we want to do, our intention. So recognize and welcoming the emotions of everyone and accompanying the consciousness, the awareness and acceptation of the different collapse happening. Taking care of the different human communities and ecosystems with inclusion, support, and help. And also act, experiment, and learn together to support adaptation by creating links for other initiatives to build a future. So that's what we're doing tonight. We are really indeed advancing on this. So it seems that it's a good moment for us to do this. We're really happy about it. We have some values that are really important in everything that we do. For us, it's compassion. What we think one towards another may not be the same, but we have to be full of compassion. We're curious. So sometimes we have ideas, we're not necessarily agreeing with each other, but we're still curious and we're trying to think, and we're not closed off to ideas. This is really our idea. And of course, respect, which is important. We cannot do anything without that respect. We are using some scopes to look at the world, which are the 4R, which is resilience, renouncements, restoration, and reconciliation. So resilience is what we want to preserve. It's something that we have to choose every day. Unfortunately, today we can only do it through this type of initiative. We have the 4R forum that allows us to do it. But resilience, when we choose what we want to keep, is that we won't be able to keep everything. So we'll have to renounce some elements. So what do we have to give up to not make things worse? And the first R is restoration. What can we restore of the being, of the doing in our society, of the jobs, elements that are really concrete and tangible, and of course the R of reconciliation, which may be the harder to do. There's different aspects. We don't view it the same way. So it's written how to do peace, how to be at peace. But we are in a word that's very dividing. So we're either against or for, and it's very complicated to talk about nuance of being wrong and changing your mind. So I think it's quite important for a society to have reconciliation one with another, rather than to just setting ourselves up one against the other. But there's also the aspect of saying, okay, anyways, we're not going to be able to keep everything. There's things that are going to be collapsing. This is a notion that we carry, that we understand. And so there's also the reconciliation with everything that will not be. Like a mourning, like a grief. It's quite a deep word because it also carries the acceptance and a strength in itself, meaning we're not deepened by that grief. When we reconcile with that, we can move on. So there's other R's, of course. We started to do work of different fundamentals because we worked on the fundamentals. We have resilience, of course, of strength, of robustness, which we try to do a connect. Reclaim also that James Bendel offered in his last book, funding us together towards called freedom. And then there's reliance also, which is very dear to Thierry. Dependability, reliability. We all think together that the internal work and the fact of moving inside of yourself is totally important for us to be able to make the world move around us. There's everything is linked. So I was saying, we have a shared governance. It's very accessible if you want to come. The engagement is quite an engagement, but we're still trying to be quite open. So if it speaks to you, you're more than welcome. We are very rich of all the people who can join us. We have different formats, web papotage, which will be December 9, 6:30, which allows us to talk if people want to share. And yeah, we're talking about the world that's around us. Web chatting. It's like if we were at the bar in a way. We can discuss together. It's nice to be around people who have the same ideas as us. We have different also the formats like the games of helping games, which was created by Julien R.E.E.L. It's a rolling game, and that can allow us to trying to live in someone else's life through a person that's a character that's offered to play to us through its board game also. And so it's a group of people who's around the table, and it's a really nice experience. I really encourage you to live it at least once. It's really transforming. We question ourselves, and we have to go further than just questioning ourselves. We have to interact one with another around the table, and it's very, very positive. We don't go out of this without an effect on us. So there's an option, of course, this pack, what's in my bag. So with survival, emergency, evacuation, it might be hard to discuss at first, but yet there's people who today in the world who had to leave very fast from their home or to be confined in their home. What's interesting to us is not really the bag in itself, but rather the discussions that go around it about the culture of risk, because we don't really have it in France. Other places it might be a little bit more developed, but we're offering you this format. Live together, of course, through bad weather, which I will present a little bit later. What I want to say through this is that the different formats that we have are being developed over time. So we have the helping games, for example, which are being developed. We are always taking inspiration from everywhere. So you're more than welcome to participate to all of this. And now, Thierry, over to you. Thank you, Nadej, for this nice presentation and introduction of Adaptation radicale and of what we're doing today. Indeed, this evening is really fully involved in the objectives of deep adaptation to try to structure local networks, and especially around the help that we can bring to each other, because this is a theme for tonight. This evening comes as a follow-up, as we had announced, of course, when along with the evening that we did with Pablo, with the publication of his book on the manifesto of popular help, mutual help, the Storm Network. So I'm just gonna try to bring into position this before we discuss, because the purpose of here tonight is not for us to present for you for an hour what adaptation radicale is and storm network. It was already done by Pablo, but it is to enter into the question of what do we do now. There's things that exist, but maybe there's things that we need to expand on, to generalize, make links maybe between what exists and what doesn't. So um, just a reminder about what Pablo was telling us, to try to understand what we're trying to place this format in, and this action of discussion and local aid networks. Pablo explained to us, I don't know if you remember, he was saying that he's known mostly by his books around the collapsing processes, and what led actually to the birth of collapsology in a way. But basically, he was more interested into the helping networks, because he was more interested, for example, in that process with the ants, different animals. But he was kind of looking at it as other people who were looking at how it works in real life, and not necessarily in the ideas in itself, just like this. That different species who are evolving have developed on this earth, and have been developing, especially because they had this ability of developing relationships, of some symbiosis, but also of help. So at first, he really based his studies on the help and the other law of the Django, another observation, of course, and also on another book, which was the book of Kropotkin, geographic man from the beginning of the 20th century, who had done some information about helping and mutual aid. He just published a book on the storm network, an expression, a phrasing that really made sense for us. That really that's borrowed from Joanna Massey, who's a great woman who left us in July, and who's the leading person in the work, in the connecting work. And she had this idea that about what is happening to us, we'll have to organize some networks to face this storm that we can feel around us, honestly, but which will maybe be stronger. And I think it's important for us to be to help each other mutually. So it was indeed this book. It was a way of trying to think about the different collapsing systems and processes, and the need to develop mutual aid, which is already present in us, even if sometimes it's a bit suppressed by the different ideologies that are of neoliberalism, who are putting forward competition, performance, one against the other, and individualism. But globally, normally, we have this ability of mutual aid, which is represented quite spontaneously when there's some catastrophe happening. So indeed, Pablo told us about all of this, but his book was rather interesting because he pointed at something, the fact that all the virtues that mutual aid has on the daily life, meaning that there's no real need for us to be in a catastrophe to help each other. Maybe helping out can start by creating social networks together. Maybe live better together, and we have a lot to win, rather than being on competition one with another and stressing, and being able indeed to turn to your neighbor, stay open, and eventually maybe we told about it, Nadej was talking about reconciliation, maybe trying to listen people who don't think the same as us. Maybe why do they think different? Anyways, it's trying to operate and work all these links which seem vital for us. And so the last thing is that it allows us to, by solidifying those networks, if and when a storm is going to come, it will seem obvious for us to be together to face that. So that's what Pablo said. But indeed, the storm network that Pablo presents is a support association to support all those perspectives and to continue to search methods that will allow us to favorize all this. Today, the purpose of the storm network is not to organize storm networks locally in a real way, even though things are gonna happen. But our issue is, as Nadej said it earlier, is rather to be able to go into action, and by looking what's existing, looking how things can work and amplify. And the purpose of this evening right now is really to share our ideas. So of course we have some perspectives, of course we have thoughts about it for quite some time, to quite some things, but we don't have any more answers necessarily to those questions about the different collapsing processes. So we're trying to think together and see how we can do today. We don't necessarily have a methodology, just made up methodology to say that, oh, we have a mutual aid network, just follow. So I think we're going to make the cake together. So it's a cake that seems nice, but we're all going to have to build it together, and this is how things will be able to work things. We're really counting on this first evening together to create those networks of sharing, of mutual aid. So I don't know if you have noticed, of course, the network of mutual aid. It's real in French. It's the initials for real, for something that's real. So we're trying to achieve that real thing together. Maybe reaching that real experience of something else of the way we live. So it's the purpose of tonight. So now I'll give it over to Gregory.
I'm not even sure who I'm supposed to give the mic to. Thank you, Thierry. Thank you for all this context. So we're lucky enough to have Gregory with us today, who's carrying a proposal, let's say, a very interesting one. And he's going to be able to explain to us what he's trying to do. He's going to introduce option A to us. Yes, just one small thing, Nadej, just to reassure everyone. There is the presentation from Gregory, then you're going to be speaking to us again of living together through bad weather. And then at the end of that, you will be, of course, able to let yourself be known. You'll be able to speak if you like. You'll be able to give testimonies on what you know or your ideas, etc. I've seen that we also had Philippe Bouillet, who's here with us, with whom I've already had quite a few conversations, and who's in Bretagne in the Armoury coasts, and who might actually be able to talk to us as well about a platform that I would say is a services and exchanging and objects platform. Which can also be a type of tool amongst many, and that does register within this dynamic that we're trying to build here, or to revalue, maybe. I don't know. Thank you very much, Nadej. Thank you, Gregory. Gregory, go ahead. Well, hello, everyone. Good evening. I am very happy to be here. It's kind of the first time I'm presenting option A, so I'm thrilled. So option A is a very recent project. It's a month old, but it's been gestating for a while. Can you now see my screen? I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, you can see it. Okay. Okay, so basically, this is a project that came out out of the ground. The site has been online for a month, optiona.org. I'll try to be quite quick on my presentation. You have all the details on our websites. It is a project that we've been working on for 5 years now, especially with Pablo. So the idea came up one night. We were just having a drink and thinking, okay, how could we anticipate, get ready? And so we've been kind of turning this thing around for 5 years and looking at it from different angles. And now it's being carried by an association that's called Save the Children, which is I created with Pierre. And it's one of the projects through this organization, Association in French. I'm going to quickly talk about this organization as well. We don't have communication yet. Very little communication has been made about the project. There's not many people in it yet, but I'm doing a test team into which I've been for the last 2 years, and it's working really well. So in one sentence, it's quite complicated, so I'll do more. It's a network. It's a human network, option A. Humans that stay and live where they are. It doesn't have an echolocation process where you move, so you meet people with whom you share a vision. The idea is to stay where you are and to create teams of 10 people, 10, 12 people in a 10 kilometers area. So what can I do as an individual? It really is supposed to be a network of individuals, of people. We also offer something to businesses or communities or collectivities, but the whole point is to create a network of people that are on site. So we have about 10 people. Why did we decide 10? 10, it's because there's a few sociological and anthropological studies that show that 10 is a great number for the monkeys that we are to cooperate without a leader having to emerge or emerging. So the idea is to be as autonomous as possible. So the objective here for these 10 people, which are quite close within a 10-kilometer area, we've said no matter origins, beliefs, sexual identity, professional activities, or political ideas, the whole point is to also be able to do this with people that are next to you and that you disagree with, but they're next to you. It's better to agree with your neighbor's ideas than with yours, usually. So the objective for those 10 people is to put things in place that are going to help us live in a simpler manner with helping each other out and being more autonomous. So I'm not going to go again on what's coming for us or what might be coming for us. The level of preparations of the public states and communities and everything, no one's ready. We're not ready. We're not saying that developing this is going to make us ready, but it's probably going to make us a bit readier. And mostly through being more autonomous within a group of 10 people and then everyone else, we do think that it's a good way to react. So those 10 people are creating a team. That's what they are. They're a team. It's the first level of option A, the team, 10 people. Then the next idea is to create a platform, whether it's an app, whether it's website, internet. We'll see what tool we use, but those teams can create a tribe, which is 10 teams. And you're already between 100 and 150 people, and you can already start developing a lot of things. So 150 is Dunbar's number. It's the number, you might be aware of this. It's the maximum number of people that we can really create connections and links that we can know personally is 150 people. So all of this is creating a net of citizens, a network on all the territories. And so those teams are creating tribes. And then, of course, multiple tribes can gather if they'd like, but we didn't create another organization level. So we invite people to work according to collective methods on all the big topics of daily life. You've seen here, we've divided them into 3 parts: material, water, food, energy, heating, security, and then relationships and relations, and social. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but we divided all main topics into 3 big categories. And the point is to share all of these experiences with all the network on the platform. So we offered a method. We already have on the site a method to create a team. You'll see that there's a map on GoGo Carto where people have positioned themselves. They've indicated their location. We have very few people because we're just getting started, but we also have some kind of a fact sheet. So you can go and talk about this project to people around you, people you might know or not know, to just start getting started with creating your team. So we've worked with Pablo here on in a more serious manner on how to create strong links within the team. That's the topic that he's working on right now, mostly for himself, which is in the manifesto of the Storms Network. How do you create a very strong link? There are multiple levels of connections and relationships and links. So we're going to try to use his expertise to create a method. We're not doing this on our own. Of course, there are other structures that are helping us on this. So how can you create very strong connection within this group of 10 people of trust, of safety, of security, in order to specifically, well, be more autonomous today and also get ready to the multiple shocks, police shocks that are on their way. So there we go. So today we're talking about the R.E.E.L crises, but we'd like to include the work of Pablo on conviviality, diversity, authenticity, and to try and make it into something concrete that we can develop throughout the team's meetings as we go. So we have a charter of commitment. When you join a team, you commit to a charter. It's also on the website. I'm not going to show it here. And so we want all of this to be very practical, very concrete. We want people to have tools immediately that they can start using. So another way to present it is it's capacity building. We chose not to, well, we chose empowerment, but we used a different translation. So what we're doing is we're bringing tools for capacity building for people. That's, sorry, I'm also letting people into the meeting, if you don't mind, guys, because sorry, Nadej. Okay, you can let them in, please. So for the last 2 years, we've been testing this. I'm in the South Gironde right now. So there's 5 families here, two adults every time. The youngest are young couples without children, about 30s, and the oldest are 80 years old. And we've created that team. Every month and a half, we gather, we meet, we basically have a drink and just chat with a method. We each have our roles. I'm the coordinator, as it is the beginning, and I'm initiating this project. We have facilitators, we have scribes, we have timekeepers, and it has to be within a frame because otherwise it goes in every direction. Anyone that does collective smartness, collective intelligence, or collective management in any type of these things, you know how it works, and it works. And so we were completely in the bushfires of Landiras a few years ago, and we were in the middle of it. And so in a very spontaneous manner, what we decided to work on specifically was water, access to water. How can we, the 10 of us, be more autonomous for drinking water, garden water, any type of water? Can we be more autonomous than on our own? And it is helping each other out. It is help amongst each other, helping one another. And then now we're trying a big construction site about potatoes. So we're all getting started with potatoes, and we're going to start growing potatoes for everyone. So very concrete things. And what we're starting here, we see that it's also going to be very important to start creating connections, relationships. Not everyone in the team knows each other as well as some people know each other within the team. So it is important to go into concrete matters to get to know each other. So next. There is another activity from the project, which is, so we have this citizen net, this citizen network, let's say without the companies, without public communities, but we don't want to be completely closed off. So we're also going to propose or offer to any public communities or companies to also make people more autonomous. So for instance, a company, instead of selling something, could actually transmit a know-how. They could make people more autonomous. Let's say someone who produces potatoes next to us, rather than buy potatoes from them, we could ask them to train us to grow potatoes and potentially just pay them for this. So there could be an economical model on here to be found, to be discovered, of transmitting know-hows. And we can see that for public institutions as well, they have less and less means and less options to do what they have to do. So we could maybe try and ask them to accompany the citizens to become more autonomous on some topics. That would be in a second phase, in the second timeline. But yeah, the idea here again, would be to have a platform. We're in partnership with the Storms network now, le Réseaux des tempêtes. We're one of the bricks of this network, knowing that we are this organization and citizen net part. We're aiming to be autonomous. Anything that's about dealing with the crisis, organization with, throughout the crisis before the first responders arrive, this will be more on the part of the Storms network and all the trainings that Pablo and everyone else is trying to put in place right now. So yeah, what's the structure? The structure is Sori Children. It's an organization, association, that we created with Pierre about 7 years ago now. And the main activity here was to educate, inform, noticeably through a campaign that's called The Worst Excuse that we started years ago. And we've asked many people, especially famous people, telling them, okay, what's the worst excuse you could give to your children for leaving them with the earth that we're leaving them with? And a good reason not to give them this worst excuse possible. So that's also something we do in the organization. What would be the most efficient way now to react? And our option is option A. Everything that we can do, let's do it. Let's not wait for others to understand, react, and start talking about stuff. Everything that we can already do, we do. And if we get outside help, well, all for the better, but might as well get ready that it won't be fast enough. So option A is within Sori Children, even though it has its own governance. We're really making it very accurate here, this governance, with a operational committee, steering committee, and then all the members of the organization. So that's the operational committee. That's myself, Pierre, which is our co-president of Sori Children, Maheri, who is a friend here who has an eco-location, who's very good in collective intelligence, and Pablo, of course, who's working with us on all of this, specifically on this method, how to moderate, create this team and make the links so strong. We have a steering committee, 8 very different people, very different expertises, again, collective intelligence, child protection, childhood protection. And yeah, that's pretty much all of it for me. If you are an individual, you can already start creating your team. You can go, there's a flyer, we have a bit of communication, go meet with people around yourselves that you know, that you don't know, the people that you disagree with, mostly politically. I think that's very important. We have one of our principles in option A is to agree to disagree. And we are testing this here with people. We are in Sud Gironde, South Gironde. We have the far right, which is quite here. We have the hunters. We still have conversations with everyone, people we hardly disagree with, but it's an effort that's so necessary in our perspective, because it's going to have to go well. And as well, so again, companies or public institutions, there's the possibility of empowering people through that help. And if you want to make a donation, if you want to become a member, we're on Hello and you have here the website if you want to help spread the project and talk about it. And I'm done. Thank you very much, Gregory. Nadej, you're going to be able to take the mic again. Okay, so something that's very structured. We have this platform that's, we hope, is going to grow and develop. I'd like to invite all of you to start creating teams. It is a precious tool, but we know that there's no one thing that's going to solve everything. So we know that we need to help one another, especially people that are already carrying initiatives and creating initiatives. And that's why Gregory is very much here where he belongs. So I'm going to share my screen again and a meeting format.
So tell me if it's working. Okay, is it working? Okay. I think it should be good. Okay. Well, I don't have any feedback. Can you confirm that you can see the screen? Okay, thank you. Okay, great. So Live Together Through the Bad Weather is a meeting format that allows, from the beginning, to allow us how it works, how a network, because we have to be able to work together before creating a network. It can't happen in supermarket, even if we can have great discussions together. So we thought, okay, on the territory, we're going to build things together. Now you understand that in the title, Living Together Through Bad Weather, the bad weather's there, because obviously climate changes and catastrophe are present. And this is when we realize that we need help. That's when we realize it. But the bad weather is also because the future, we don't know how it's gonna go. And with the different tips that we have, it's not very bright. So we're thinking that, as Craig was saying, that we are not going to be able to fix everything, but it will be better for us anyways to prepare at least a little bit, even if there's a lot of things that we cannot prepare for. So living together through bad weather is this format that allows us on 2 days to create an event in a given territory with a lot of different elements in there for everyone to be able to find an interest to be there, because there's people who are going to come because there's going to be debate, because people love debate, and some others really don't like it at all. They're not comfortable with the exchange of ideas and hearing someone talk. So we're going to try to find different ways of bringing in people, but still in close collaboration with all different actors of the territory. The greatest work is done beforehand with the identification of the structures, the associations, and taking contacts with different people. But this is what seems the most logical to do anyway. So try to find a partner association, a resource association who's already present in the territory and who will allow those creation of links who are so precious actually, and who will allow this moment to be possible and to connect people who would not connect otherwise. So it's a format that already had its first edition this year in Craponne-sur-Arzon in Haute-Loire, where I live. A format that's quite difficult to put in place at first, because as those who live in deep adaptation, it's not something that's easily accepted. But being with an association who was already involved and settled in the territory allowed me to present this. And deep adaptation, of course, the word radical would have been a problem otherwise if I had presented it by myself. And being with the people in the territory makes everything possible. So the examples here, we were able to test different things together through the body, because the body is quite important actually. When we dance with someone, when we do yoga, when we do all those things, it's different from just listening to each other and talking and discovering wild plants. So it was a really dense program, actually, this one. So we have Soline, who presented, he created a software who was allowing to do a lot of kilometers and to see different things. We also put in place the Forum of the 4 Rs. Daniel, I think I saw you present. So you see Daniel Rodari here, who's carrying the Forum of the 4 Rs, which is allowing us through reconciliation, resilience, renunciation, allows us to ask a question to the assembly and to working groups around that question to answer the question. And the question here was, what do we do if we don't have any gas for cars in this town? We had an afternoon of games. So we can see here Julia in the picture, and we had the helping games. And so we were creating links. There were games for everyone. People who came wanted to play with the kids, and then we were just listening to each other. We had games that were a bit different. We had another game that was offered also for Genonomicus, which was not able to be done. But well, they were all very different. They were not the same, but it was very interesting, and it was at the very heart of the help and the experience that we can live together through this. We were able to also project and share a documentary with Daniel, who came to discuss with Gilles Domenech, soils covered with hope. So it's someone who did who went all around Europe to present how soils can regenerate. So it was the idea through image, through media, through cinema, to be able to show the different impacts of our time today and the different issues with Radio Craponne, Ciné Plateau. We don't have a cinema, so it was the Radio Craponne that was working quite well here. And this idea also of the social link that we have is really crucial. It's really important. So we created a debate. How can we allow social link to create in a rural community? And also how local agriculture, not necessarily organic, but just local agriculture can adapt to climate change. It was great because it was people who were around each other for 40 years but had never talked to each other. So that was quite magical moments that came forward. And our solution here, if there was one, or anyways, security around food seemed quite an important element for us to create those links. And for the way also we could interact one with the other to support the territory present there, the agricultures, but also the consumers. It was great for mental health, but health in general. So we are going to introduce the ball because that was quite important. There were different people who came to make food. We had great things to drink, to eat. We're able to present different local foods. So we have great foods in Haute-Loire, so that's great. And the ball actually was, we didn't think that it was gonna have that much presence, but it was really full actually at the end. So it was a really good surprise. It was amazing towards the end. A lot of young people came here. While during the rest of the day, we didn't have that many young people. It was adults rather, but conviviality is really important, and the link is there actually. So what do we do with that link? It's important to present and introduce the people who are there locally through the Maison Memourou. We had videos recorded for the different associations who were present and who were volunteering. You can find those videos. It's small associations, of course. It's not, but they were allowed to talk and to present what they were doing on the territory. And that was a great victory, actually. It was something that was amazing to do. A really great feedback from the people who went in front of the camera for the first time in their life. Anyways, it's links that are still here today who matter. So you have an example here of the program for the weekend, who was very dense, but which really allowed us to have a lot of people coming. There was also a really poetic show that was presented. People were coming, and we were offering what I allowed myself to call local aid network. So for the second part of the weekend, that was not existing in the first edition, but for the next ones, we want to offer to connect, to start to have the share our phone numbers, etc. maybe. And Grégory, if you're okay with us, we could offer as an option to do this. It will be a tool that people will use or not, but at least they will know that it exists, that the approach is created, and it will be allow us to create networks to maybe see heads that are appearing. So this is all the partners. I was not able to put them on this page, but it's a lot of connecting and networking work present there, but it's really essential. And then those people, once the links are created, they're way stronger once we've met them. And it's not just logos. It's not just, for me, it's a lot of interactions there. So that's it. I think I said everything, and I pass the hand now back to Thierry. Thank you, Nadège. Just a question from Olivier, because indeed it's a very nice introduction to create such an event, to begin to get close to each other and to exchange on everything, nothing, and indeed to, at some point, try to talk about the real topics. But Olivier was asking a question. How long did it take you to prepare all of this? Because it's not just by flicking your fingers that it's going to happen. I think it's important that you say it because indeed mutual aid is also a momentum. It's work. But I would say that this work, when it's done in joy, hopefulness, it's a way to live better, actually. So, but it does take time. And this question I think that it's important also for people who want to develop those such networks of mutual aid and local networks will have to get this started. And so, especially those who maybe want to have help or to create those things, at least you need to have at least one or two people who will do the hard work to start with, anyways. But it's only joy, anyways. To answer your question, it's where I live that where I already have contacts, but 3 months preparation, continuous preparation. It was a lot of networking, taking time to go see people, for me to be authorized to do this. It was not easy, and just to say, there was zero euros of financing done. Zero, really. It's not a lot, zero. So we had to put in place some money collections, and we had a really crazy budget for that type of. I think we had 700 euros for that budget. So after collecting funds, so it's possible. We need a lot of will power to do it. But now that the greatest work is done, now we are offering to spread it in your different localities. A lot of work is already done to do this program. So before going to another witness, of course, because testimonies such as this, which are that interesting, are really questioning us. Another question from Carmen. What was the follow-up of this? We're doing this, of course, it's an event, but what's after? What does it create? How do we continue to keep the fire going, to create this, to continue to have this life in the daily? Just to say that right now we are creating a shared space. So it had a lot of impacts, not necessarily direct impact, but now when we see on the street, we talk to each other. That's a lot already. And when someone does something, we communicate together. And so we go to each other's events. And this is huge, actually, because we're in a territory where people are quite old, where there's a lot of things for old people. So it's also a way to allow the territory to live differently. It's not a miracle, but it's great. Thank you, Nadej. The way you're telling us about it makes me think, because we were talking a bit earlier about the work that connects us from Joanna Massey, about this spiral of, because when you're saying that now we're wanting to have a shared space, we can see that there's something that we're lighting up a fire somewhere, a small fire. It creates something. And so in this spiral that's of the work that connects us, this fourth step, which is changing directions. The step before that was the fact of having exchange and talked with each other, and putting in common some things really allowed us to change our view of things. And the step even before that was to tell ourselves, okay, something's wrong. We are together in the face of something that's heavy on us. But anyways, we can still continue and anyways start advancing. All of this rests on the first step, which is, of course, the step of gratitude, of being grateful that we're alive and that we want to continue to live well. I think that this spiral that connects us is really what's used in the Storm network. It's not for nothing that she used that expression, Joanna Massey. So thank you, Nadej, for your testimony. I don't know if there were any other questions, but anyways, we'll maybe go to a different testimony, and now it's up to you to take the space. You can talk. Earlier, I said, of course, to Philippe Bouillet, if he wants to talk of what he's putting forward in the service locally, intercommunitally. But if other people want to talk, it's your time. If you want to ask question, and of course you can raise your hand or put a word in the chat. Well, anyways, we have a platform platform. We have a channel that we can maybe put in the chat if someone can, where the different discussions can continue. So that we can talk further one with the other of what we do, what we want to do. So I just put in the chat the channel Frama Team. So if you don't know, it's a free tool that we can, it's to allow us maybe to use the different networks. Even if we use it because we have to connect it to the greater number. But every time anyways, it's to allow the tools to be used. So if you don't know Frama Team, when you click on the link anyways, it's going to maybe ask you to create an account. And once the account is created, you can straight away go and reach from a team of deep adaptation. And there, especially on the channel of Storm Network, we use Storm Network, Exchange and Mutual Aid Network, but anyways, it's kind of the spirit anyway. The vocabulary is not completely fixed. But yeah, it's just words. Even if the words are important, it's just words. So we have two people who want to talk. Well, let Jean-Christophe talk. Jean-Christophe?
All right. Yes, so you should now be able to speak. Parler. I can see. All right. Oh, yes. Can you hear me? So, Jean-Christophe, yeah, and that's true for everybody. We're going to try and share the time, okay, so that it can be as interactive as possible. Then we'll have Philippe then. And please raise your hands or send something in the chat if you'd like to speak. Yes, can you hear me? Yay, brilliant. Okay, so thank you to both of you. Thank you to Grégory. So we know each other a little bit. I'm not going to be very long. Don't worry, I can be very long, but I can also be brief if I want to. So the Archipel du Vivant, the Archipelago of the Living, which is an NGO that I'm co-founded, which is calling for training, sensitivity, and awareness of a utopia of bio-originality, which I carry. And Thierry is going to actually give us a talk in just a few days, actually on Tuesday, about an immersive adventure in Brittany. So there's on one side, there's a MOOC, which is 7 weeks long. And then on the other hand, there's an immersive adventure, which is an operational continuum of this MOOC on site, basically, with a real experience on site. And the point was to see how we can create a network out of the archipelago of the living, Archipel du Vivant, and Adaptation radicale on the other side, and what Grégory is doing as well, because we also had conversations with Grégory. For myself, Nadège, I had gone to the website and I had seen Living Together Through Bad Weather, and I've heard you present it again during the conversation with Pablo. So I just let you know that I'm very interested in this in Center Brittany on our territory. We can talk about it whenever you want, because there's a real vigorous desire to create such an event. And for sharing of experience, please know that since we're carrying this utopia through this MOOC and this immersive adventure, it would have been very surprising if I hadn't myself experiment it and go in it 1 week out of 2 since the month of March. So I've created the initiative, a bio-original experiment in Center Brittany. And so after 6 months, now we're questioning ourselves a lot. We're, thinking a lot. It's moving forward. It's sometimes not as fast as we would like it to be, but it's moving forward. There's someone in Service Civique as well, which is a type of French volunteering. And I'm ready to share everything that's come out of this beautiful initiative with anyone who's interested, knowing that this person in Service Civique has been able to interview 17 mayors of cities that are around ours on all resilience topics for major risks, systemic risks. And it's only just confirmed what we already know on the non-readiness, on prejudice in regards to those risks or potential crisis. And from this feedback, we're going to start working on a tool that will be a website. And this website will be a local website dedicated to this 20 kilometers area around Rostroma, which is, let's say, the center of this location. And this website will allow everyone and anyone to create their own map depending on their needs, their wants, their expectations on water conditions, resources, let's say wood, or to just be able to organize, get ready, get prepared to any type of risks. We're going to put all of these people inside of a network, of course, because that's the ambition of the bio area, what we call the bio area, and of course, interconnection of alternative initiatives within the political world, because it is, of course, the bio-original ambition. So we're going to get started with this. We're going to give a presentation in an event in April next year. So this could be creating together, organizing together, this living together through bad weather. And of course, I know the network, the local network very well. So maybe we could set this up, organize this, and then maybe think about later how to get to a second step, a second phase, and how, and that's mainly today, that's why I've gotten back to you lately as well. How can we now organize well in order to know who does what between option A, Adaptation radicale, the Archipel du Vivant, the Storms network, to try and find the least capitalistic word. I'm going to try and find, let's say, the more robust word, the most resilient word. I know that we sometimes tend to oppose Olivier Hamon, and I still talk about resilience. So it's a bit of a wordplay, but I think words are very important. But I think for this specific dichotomy, I'm not so sure that it's so important. Anyway, how could we organize ourselves, because we've all come to the same realization. We've all done experiments, each and every one of us has, and now we have structures, and they're nice. They have real products, again, right sense of the word product, and we have to structure all of this and spread the tasks, spread positions, each have our roles. Yes, of course. Merci, Christophe. Thank you so much. And of course, everyone, go on the Archipel du Vivant website. And yes, we're going to talk about this. You know, we will. And then we're going to listen to Philippe. And after that, we'll have David. So Philippe, I should have clicked on the right button. You should be able to speak now. Yes, can you hear me? Yes, of course, completely. Hello, Philippe. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Hello, good evening. So very happy to be here and to discover all of the work you've done. I've arrived on this topic not so much through the, let's say, resilience approach or collapse approach, even though I did read in a very interestingly manner the work of Pablo and Robopkin about transitioning. I'm more here because I arrived through a spiritual path, I would say. I'm not gonna tell the tale today. And about a decade ago, with a friend who's a web developer, we've experimented on a time bank, which still exists, even though it's not active anymore, which was called Living in My City, Vivre dans ma ville. And it was one of the biggest time banks that existed in Brittany. So we had 800 users, 500 hours exchanged, and 200 types of services offered, or 200 services offered. And this initiative was kind of stopped after a year and a half. I think I had tried to develop something that was national level immediately, which now actually seems like it was a mistake at the time. And after that, we kept ourselves busy in different manners. And now today we are relaunching the project, which is Troki now, as in Troc, which is trading, free trading. So you'll have a web page that can send you to the various platforms that exist. So the process here is to create the vision. The dream is that around each intercommunalité, so links and connections between communalities or cities, it is quite different from option A, which you introduced earlier. Here we're dreaming to immediately think about a togetherness of cities,— and so the vision would be for us to have in the long term a network of people in each intercommunalities, so throughout cities, with whom we could communicate, exchange services, skills, and objects. So we're going to start smaller. We're going to restart and smaller. This time we're starting in Côte d'Armor, our department. We're putting together a platform about Trégor, and we're probably going to set up in Trégor, sorry, and we're going to do different places in the Armoury Coasts for other intercommunalities. And the biggest challenge will be to moderate, host this network, maybe through encounters on site, physical encounters, because starting a project, we know how to do this. I've done this multiple times. I know that the biggest challenge is to, far and beyond from creating it, is to last after the first 6 months. Because after the first 6 months, you can always attract people, and they're usually always the same people that you see everywhere. And starting to lead with more people and starting to attract more people, that would be, I'm not going to share a website right now. I'd rather be face-to-face. I'd rather see faces, but you can still type in troki.fr and you will have an introduction to the project. Thank you very much, Philippe. I have set up the link on the chat to the platform. It's in the chat now. There is indeed someone who's, it's not asking a question, it's a Zoom user. Their name is Zoom user, but I don't know who they are, but they're probably in the Côte d'Armor, on the community of communes, so in the city of Lamballe-Terre-Mer, and who would be interested. So maybe they'll be able to share with us and tell us who they are and what's their perspective and why and how they are interested in this. What I'm keeping from what you said, and Grégory was saying earlier, and some key points, and also Jean-Christophe and what he said, for logics and dynamics of the bio area and what you're presenting to us. It's true. Every time we kind of see that it's all about the local that is anchoring those dynamics, which can actually be about knowledge and sharing knowledge. And maybe to start giving a bit of an answer to Jean-Christophe, there are already on our territory locally initiatives that exist and that sometimes are declined, not declined. They have they can be done through the national initiatives as well. But at some point we can ask ourselves, okay, who does what? If we want to get bigger, who does what? And I think this question can be solved throughout the fact that it is about doing the inventory of what's happening on the territory already and doing with what's already there and the people that are already there and creating connections between the people and the initiatives. That's pretty much the process that we're trying to promote here. And I think we've discussed this, Jean-Christophe, as well. At some point, I think what's important is the world is done in such a manner that there are quite a few things that exist, but there are things that keep the landscape busy or that take too much space in the landscape. Maybe I'm going to use one example out of hundreds. I'm quite worried here about feeding or food on our territory, so short circuits and eating healthy, but also imagining the possibility of a failure in supply from big shops on big shops. But after this, we can see that small producers are almost invisible. So it's also about giving visibility to other people and maybe mapping, which be one of the tools, one of the methods that we should just think about, is how on a very local, very small territory can we help people gain visibility through doing this mapping, which is just sharing knowledge that people have in such a manner that those way of lives that we could call alternatives, way of lives, which will allow for robustness and resilience. It's a big debate. You played on words earlier, but they will allow us to move forward, to anchor ourselves in a sustainable manner on our territory by living a little bit better outside of the systems that today are destroying us. Thank you so much, Thierry. And I think it's David now. Yeah, okay. Philippe, I'm gonna ask you maybe if you can mute your, yay. And David, that's for you now. If you'd like to speak, you should be, and you can go.
Thank you. I'll be speaking in English, so there is a button below that should say français to hear the interpretation. Do we find that button for French, for français? Oui? Très bien. I want to thank you for welcoming us English speakers to your meeting. Thank you to my colleague, Julien, and to the hosts, Nadège and Thierry, and the other speakers. This is a tremendous opportunity, which we appreciate very much. I work with deep adaptation in the United States and in the UK, and also my own little group, which is called Collapse Club. That grouping, we have concentrated very much on inner work, the processing, the metabolization of emotions related to collapse awareness, grief, fear, anger. We gather together to help each other understand and to give each other strength. It has been wonderful and successful. We are now looking for the way to move into action, and particularly local action, because we understand that true adaptation happens in people's homes and in their small communities around them. So we are working to understand how to make that real in our social context. It is a challenge because in the United States, in particular, the social situations are so very different from place to place. And so learning how to find commonality among people who meet online from many different places, this is challenging. And we are trying to learn how to do it. It is therefore very valuable for us to hear the activities that you are engaged in. The programs that have been mentioned today are extremely sophisticated from our point of view. This is very advanced work that you are doing, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the ability to learn. And finally, the last thing I would mention is this is happening in other places as well. People are looking for the methods to create local effective action. I bring your attention to Collapse Camp in Germany, a product of the activist Tadzio Müller, and Cindy Peter is his partner in work. Collapse Camp was an event in August of this year for 3 days. 900 people gathered in a giant field and had workshops for 3 days on inner adaptation, emotional work, but also first aid, distributed power, emergency communications, self-defense, practical skills of the most real, kind, rugged, and important. So today's effort with the translators, and thank you to the interpreters, Elisa and Pierre, thank you. This effort is the beginning of an attempt to share wisdom among the various groups in the various countries who are addressing these same problems with different wisdom from different situations. I think this can be very helpful going forward. I will also mention that Deep Adaptation Hungary, in the country of Hungary, is very advanced. It's a very successful and active group as well, and are worth attention. So again, thank you. for welcoming us. It is incredibly valuable, and I love to hear what you have to say. Thank you, and good day.
Thank you infinitely, David. It's very, very precious, very valuable, your presence and this possibility of conversating and exchanging, this openness that we all want to carry in Adaptation Radicale, and you're an incarnation of that, and you've made it possible. So thank you tremendously to you as well. Please feel free, if you are able, if you know people elsewhere, we would very much like to see, especially countries that are already going through collapses. We have so much to learn. We don't have much to offer, but we have a lot to learn from them. So if they did have this interest to come and share with us, that would be absolutely formidable. Nadej? Yes. I've seen that Thérèse Dubreuil had a hand raised, but there's a question from Géraldine to David. She wanted to ask if he knows, since he's talking about inner work, which is a word that we use a lot in Adaptation Radicale as well, if he knows the works that reconnect from Joanna Massey and Chris Johnston's, and that we translate through the work that binds or links. David?
Yes. Joanna Macy is beloved and respected in our community. We pay a lot of attention to the work that reconnects. The spiral is a very valuable concept and process. So yes, thank you for that.
Thank you, David, for this answer that comforts us. I'm gonna just do a small attention point. It is now 7:48 p.m. here. I also wanted to let you know that the work that binds, we tried to be careful with the words that we were using for those that are not familiar with it. So the work that reconnects, the thing is it's all about thinking. It's not intellectualization. It is not supposed to be unreachable. It is very reachable, very accessible to anyone and everyone. Please be convinced that if you make this effort, if you're not familiar with these words, these terms, these people, there are actually things getting ready everywhere at organization. It's all helping to transform ourselves. And it is something very important to try and evolve if we have this ambition. Anyway, please do know that this is supposed to be available to anyone and accessible for anyone, and anyone can grab it, reach it, and make it their own. And Géraldine is actually here. Géraldine Simeon is actually here. Through her website, she's offering, she's a very warm-hearted person, and she will welcome you into all these new vocabularies and knowledge. Yes, I saw Thérèse raise her hand, but she lowered her hand since then, so I don't know. Maybe she wants to speak. We have to turn on her microphone. Thérèse. Yes, she just did. So, all right, let's go. You can. Yes, sorry about this. It's more of a mistake. But it's perfect. That way I can say a few words. So someone was talking about a spiritual path at some point throughout the evening. I'm in a lot of Christian groups about the cyclical year of the Pope Francois. So I'm in a few groups that talk about this. And so I'm trying to do work that reconnects the process of the deep time. We're organizing a day also on the theme of the 10 years. It's been 10 years that this encyclique has been written. And so in this group, I have a meeting soon to organize other events, other dates, where I'll probably do an entraide game, so a game of helping oneself. So I am in quite a few circles, specific circles and groups where there are a lot of things to do as well, things that are not necessarily linked to all these topics of Earth, ground, or humanity's future. That's all I wanted to say, and I'm going into Les Amants Légers with a small house, and we're part of a small collective south of Saint-Malo, so again in Brittany. Okay, so I'm just noticing that there is indeed very good dynamics in Brittany. There's a lot of stuff going on. Just Nadej, there was a question that I didn't want to miss on, that from Katia, which is questioning on Solaris. So earlier we were saying that, of course, indeed, it's important to have a look at what's happening at the local level and get closer, I would say, to the initiatives that are already existing. But it so happens that, in principle, Solaris, when you look at the Solaris France website, is a network indeed of helping each other out in regards to the risk of the failure of normality, and which is also about creating or organizing cells. They call them cells, which are small structured groups, a little bit in the state of mind as what Gregory was presenting earlier, to be on a very small and proximity territory. It also allows to answer a question that was raised earlier by Geraldine about 10 kilometers, I would say, lost in the middle of the countryside is not the same thing as 10 kilometers in a location where there are roads or freeways or large roads. But indeed, this 10 kilometers measure is maybe a variable geometric depending on time and place. It's not necessarily a constant. Of course, if you want to move, you could say, okay, this is half an hour away. Do I go or do I not go? So this is 10 minutes away. Okay, no worries, I'll go. Today, we also can consider time as a geographic distance, basically. So I think that today we also have to do what's the closest, what's nearest. So just to get back to Solaris, of course, I'm wearing my Adaptation radicale hat today, but I also have a Solaris hat somewhere. I'm just not wearing it today, but it so happens that in the way that things happened, Solaris was put in place at some point, and at that time there were very few cells, and in Brittany it just started, and I was head of the bridge at the time. I was basically leading for the Département of Côte d'Armor, where I initiated, I think, the 10 first cells to just launch them, to let them start. And then they live their lives. Some of them are still active, some of them a little bit less active. And as always, there are sometimes issues that can exist and sometimes dynamics or friendships that get created. So there's a safety net, of course, that's already there through the Solaris network. And it is with those networks and those cells as well that we can also, it would be, we should wish to be able to work with them. For instance, just a small example, I went, I don't know how long now, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe, time flies, sorry, to moderate a workshop, What's in My Bag? And it took us half a day, and then we had lunch together. And then the people that, like, it gave me a good opportunity to talk about the game of helping one another, the jeu de l'entraide. So I have to go back on the 7th of December to actually make this game for them, to host this game for them, which would be on a typical scenario of the beginning of the end, but here we're writing "and" in French as in hunger. So it would be about the lack of supplies on food. And this is also something that I'll do as part of the week of the Bio-Utopia that's organized by Jean-Christophe. So what I'm trying to say is that there are opportunities and occasions here that you can take to create connections, to start ideas, to talk to people. Yes, just blow some air on the ashes so that the fire starts well. Thank you very much, Thierry. So we still have 4 minutes left. We don't have much time. I saw that Jean-Christophe raised his hand. I'll ask you to be very short if you don't mind. And of course, we're going to be able to keep talking on the Frama. And we're also on Facebook.
Over to you, Jean-Christophe. Is it okay? Okay, perfect. So yeah, I just wanted to bring precision because since I shared it in the chat that there's a page that offers the different organizations that offer internships and allows that the work that they do, it's not possible to describe it. You have to live it. So thank you very much, Jean-Christophe. When we have words that are made up, this way it's easier for us to, because some people maybe don't understand sometimes the words that we might use. Sometimes we don't feel legitimate enough and we say, okay, what's this? This seems weird. The word name's weird. So sometimes it's interesting to explain it. There's still something that I want to share with you. Maybe there's people who don't really know what we talk about when we talk about collapse. Actually, our vision of things, it's that with the different elements that we have, very scientific elements of, we have a lot of documents that are present and we think that things are not necessarily going to go better or maybe collapsing. We don't have we don't do magic to know the future, but we think that it's quite sure that so that we can get ready for it at least. So what we're trying to put in place is getting ready to something that's not nice, but still having the smile on our faces, doing things that bring us joy, good moments, and we do things that we talk of things that are hard to talk about, obviously, because the fact that everything's breaking it apart is not nice. But we think that it's going to happen anyway. So if we know our neighbors, if we created a link with them, well, we have friends we can count on then. We have a shoulder on which we can cry because it's very hard emotion-wise to live through all of this. So it's interesting to create links, connections. And so we have this web chatting format that we can share if you want on 9th of December at 6:30, which will be presented by myself and Claire. It's nice to talk together, to take time. The order of the day, there's none because we'll create it together throughout the format. So this evening is coming to an end now. Jean-Christophe, I'm going to ask you if you can turn off your mic, please. And yeah, that's it. We are at the very, very beginning. As you see, we have a lot of desires, a lot of wants. We're going to need to structure them. It will not be done in one day. So we offer you to have a meeting, a monthly meeting. Maybe we already fixed 2 dates. It will be December 17 and January 14. So it will be our future meetings. It will still be in over Zoom, same hour, 6:30, and we'll try to stay in contact about what happens. Grégory, you're very welcome to each and every one of them, and if you can keep us updated, if there are other people who are getting connected, if people want to make link. Also, the mapping, this is something that we talked about, and that's important because deep adaptation, we have our map. Grégory, you have your own. It can be really interesting to create links actually, and for this map to be common for those who want this, of course, with the consent everywhere and for everyone, but to have for those who are in this map maybe want to create another one and connect with Adaptation radicale and create a network somehow. So the tête de pont is something that's if you feel like you want to create this team, you can subscribe on option A, and if you don't want, there's other ways of doing it. Basically, we're going to offer you as many tools as possible. And thank you for communicating with us so that we can try. And as David was saying, actually, we're going to get inspired by each other. And the common intelligence and the joy and the will of everyone is a real power, like a crazy power, actually. Thank you, Nadej. Yes, indeed, you do well to remind us this monthly meeting that we're going to have and try to have, not only of the web chatting, because we do realize that when we participate in it, we want to go back to it when we have the availability, because it creates a link. We can talk together, share our feelings, and we really support each other. And this experience, if renewed, creates a storm network that's at every level. The different internships and workshops of work that connects is a moment of transformation for the different people who are doing that work. So we can really see that it's a transformation of internal work. Work is not like labor, it's not like working physically where you have to go work, etc. It's rather a type of infusion. Tea, in a way, is you try to infuse it where you try to create links with people who shared it for 3 days, because the standard model is rather 3 days for to go through all the different steps of that spiral. So yeah, this is just an invitation to for you to catch on. Maybe I didn't put the link in the chat, but you can type work that connects, and you can find a different agenda of the different workshops. But we have a great meeting time for us to have a meeting together. Yeah, I will indeed. I will let you conclude with it, Nadesh. I just put in the chat. If you go up a little bit, 758, 2 links. You talked about cartography, of mapping. I put the link in there, which allows us to see that we are about 100 people to not tonight, of course, but to have manifested an interest for this. So it's an invitation anyways. If you do not have, if you haven't recorded yourself, just do it. So it allows people to start to see. There were several questions in the chat. Do we have people around where I live? Yeah, I think so, but we have to find them. And often it's by participating to manifestations. There's some eco places, shared spaces that are present. There's, of course, you need curiosity to go there, and you can create a link there. And at some point, it's how we can be carried away in a different story. This is how change happens. I also put a second link in the chat, saisir ressources, and this is to mutualize and to share. You'll find different information about Larry, about the work that connects. I would say different information around what can connect us, the work that connects, the storm networks. There's different networks. But most certainly locally, initiatives maybe that exist, and you have the possibility of, it's a form, you can just fill the form up and localize this way everything. You can see it's quite easy actually to use. It's not complicated. You just click on the link, and if you have the resources, you can type them up, because it's what's part of the mapping actually, which allows us to see what exists and to say, okay, well, I know this. Oh, but this I didn't know. That's interesting. And so we have a different landscape that's really opening in front of our eyes. And this is what we're trying to construct together. Thank you, Thierry. So when's our little time? I would like, for those who know me, I like to drink. So around wine, I really like to drink, to have some cocktails. So we can really connect and have links together. We're not in a bus, we're not in a hallway, so we're offering a collapses event. This 4th of December, 6:30, and you can of course come, do it, bring books to share, movies that we liked and that's allowed us to think about things, or that really made it interesting. We're not going to spend a lot of money, of course, for things that don't make any interest, but a book is a story that we're telling, a story that we're offering. And so I think it's really interesting for us to have this little aperitif, appetizer on this day. Just before finishing, I want to give the word to Grégory. Just one thing, Nadège. What book are you talking about? Oh, Utopia, Camille Le Boulanger. I don't know if you know it. It's Édition R.E.E.L. Those editions are really great. They do amazing work. The books are beautiful and the story is really magical. Even though in magic, sometimes you have some black spots, but it allows us to. This book, Utopia, is really nice. It allows us to project ourselves. So I just wanted to bring light on it. And for myself, I would talk about 2049, what climate will do to Europe, from Nathanael. Grégory, last word maybe? Do you want me to give a last word? What would you leave with? I leave with a real dynamic present, but we're there anyways. When we start to enter into this mindset, we have the dynamic, and indeed we have everything to, and the energy, because it requires a lot of energy to do what we do, to be volunteers. I know that Jean-Christophe also. We all have lives, economic elements in there, and we need energy. So those types of moments are great. It really helps us to stay afloat. And yeah, there's a lot of things. So we offer one. There's Solaris. There's a lot that are going to come up that we don't even know about, local initiatives. So each and every one of us have to hold on to what seems best for us, what appeals to our sensibility. And let's go. Anyways, we don't have anything to lose if we do it anyways. So we have everything to lose if we stay inactive. So let's go. That's it. Well, Grégory, thank you very much. Great pleasure. You're more than welcome anyways. Yeah, welcome. It will be a pleasure for me. Thank you for everyone. You were many tonight. People who are not talking French through the interpreters who were able to listen tonight. Our different elements. It's really amazing. Thank you, David. Thank you, Julia. Julia, who's behind all of this. Thank you to all of those who came, who prepared, who are here every day to feed the discussions on Framar. You're more than welcome where we can make mistakes. We can agree not to be agree. We can agree to have hard discussions, but we do it with the smile and a lot of caring, which allows us to go forward and to create links which are very strong. Adaptation, radicale, since I met you anyways, it's my second family. I spent a lot of time with you behind my screen, and now we'll be able to meet in real life. It's a new dimension now. So I really invite you, for those who wish to join us, if you want to organize, of course, living together through bad weather, it will be a pleasure to work together on this project. And yeah, open your eyes, open your hearts, and the networks are going to create with this dynamic. Thank you. Thank you. I wish you a very great evening. Pleasure to see you soon, and see you soon.